Coming up on NEC-TV, two NEC wrestlers have earned a place at the NCAA Collegiate Championship. We highlight their impressive seasons and what comes next. And during a shortage of mental health professionals, New England College is getting a large grant to train students in the field. Hear how NEC plans to use the money. And do you know of a student that's a leader on campus and deserves an award? We'll tell you about this year's Grimm's Awards. All that and more coming up on NEC-TV.
Good afternoon. Thank you for watching NEC-TV. I'm Lauren Hall.
And I'm Jack Cody. Today is March 12th, 2026. Now to our top story.
New England College's Clery Report numbers that detail safety issues on campus have been released for 2022, 3, and 4. The Clery Report is a required document that details on and off-campus crime statistics for the 3 previous years. Each school that receives federal funding must post publicly and send their Clery Report to the Department of Education by October each year to stay in compliance with the Clery Act, which ensures transparency regarding campus safety. Perhaps the most notable statistics included in the report were 2 instances of hate crimes, one on campus and the other on campus in a residence hall, both occurring in 2024. There were 0 instances of hate crimes in the 2 previous years. In the last 2 years, domestic and dating violence under the Violence Against Women Act have dropped to 0. In 2022, there were 2 instances of domestic violence and 3 instances of dating violence. On the page of the report that references weapons, drugs, and liquor violations, most instances are being handled on campus through disciplinary actions, rather than being handled via law enforcement. The exception is liquor law violations. 3 arrests were made off campus in 2023 and 2024. The last on-campus arrest was in 2022. Anyone can find the Clery Report on NEC's website or by searching NEC Clery Report. Campus Safety did not respond to our request for an interview.
The latest crime report from the Henniker Police Department shows an increase in traffic stops and motor vehicle accidents. In February, police say there were 12 motor vehicle accidents, which is 3 more than the previous month. February had 313 traffic stops. That's up from the 253 traffic stops in January. Police say there were 2 charges for controlled drug possession. That's down from the 9 that were reported in January.
A man is charged with 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder after stabbing his parents in the driveway of their Hillsborough home late last week. 38-year-old Jeremy Belida is accused of stabbing his parents, Lauren and Susan Belida, and then barricading himself in their home. The surrounding area was on lockdown during police and SWAT negotiations. The victims were taken to Concord Hospital with multiple stab wounds in critical condition. Jeremy Belida is scheduled for a probable cause arraignment this week. A woman who was badly injured after ice smashed through her windshield in Henniker.
The incident happened on March 1st on Route 202 under the 114 overpass. The driver, Don Harsh, was struck by the ice coming to stop. Harsh was taken to the hospital and was released with multiple bruises on her chest, face, mouth, neck, and abdomen.
Officials say it's unclear where the ice came from, but it may have been from the overpass or another vehicle. Harsh reported to the WMUR that she urges people to clean off their vehicles to prevent further incidents. NEC is receiving a $775,000 grant to help grow community mental health workforce preparation in New Hampshire. Professor Kathy Simon from Department of Psychology and Community Mental Health tells NEC-TV's Jack Cody that this money will help educate students and address the shortage of mental health workers.
Thank you for joining us in studio today. Tell me a little bit about your role here at NEC and your passion for community mental health.
So I have an amazing role here working in psychology and community mental health as an associate professor of practice, which means that I have been in the field for many years, over 20 years, and I'm bringing all of that great information to the students in the classroom. I'm also able to adjust curriculum and work specifically with the community mental health students to help prepare them to go out into the field, so it's very special.
That's awesome. How many students are in the major right now, and how will this grant help that program grow?
So I believe we have around 10 students, and we also have a few minors, so people who are minoring in it. And the hope is that it will help people to see the importance of community mental health, number one. The other thing I think of is even knowing what community mental health is, because very often people don't know what that is. And I always explain it that it's really just any mental health service that's happening in the community. So if we think about substance use services, prenatal services, if we think about crisis services, those are all community mental health. So when people people are wanting to go out into the fields and to help people, they're really talking about going into community mental health. So there are more people who are probably interested in it but don't know about the names. I think getting this money is just so helpful to be able to share what community mental health is, why it's important, and then making NEC a leader in community mental health care and training. So
Absolutely.
It's beautiful.
It is really beautiful. That is incredible. Can you explain how the money will be spent?
Yeah, so I believe the way it's meant to be spent is in terms of space in the COVAX Science Center, Science Building. So changing that space into essentially like a center for the community mental health students. So I have some ideas that I would envision a way that we could create a space that looks similar to a community mental health clinic. So where we can have like an open conference room and the ability to perhaps, have little workshops or things like that. I also imagine mock session rooms where people can get the experience of what it's like to sit one-on-one with somebody, also recording opportunities. So right now the students might do like a mock sit-down interview to do like an intake assessment. And we do that in class, but they're in a classroom, so it doesn't really feel that way. But my vision is that we could have a class or have a particular office where they can sit one-on-one with the mock client and really feel like they're there, and then we'll have the recording equipment so that the class can see what's happening and that they can then see, how is my posture, how is my eye contact, could I have said this a little bit differently, so that opportunity that they can think critically about providing these services. So really just a really great space that can help to enhance the learning for the students. We can then invite people, more people to come in and see us. I also imagine the community mental health students doing more work in the community. So perhaps they could invite people into this area and hold a workshop around basic mental health where we can really practice what we are learning. So we're talking about community mental health. So I think offering services or workshops to the Henniker community would just make sense to really get more involved with that. So I have a lot of good ideas for what might be helpful for the money and the space, and then how it will help to enhance the students' learning.
Definitely. Why is there a need for community mental health workers, and why is it an important area of study?
Well, I don't know how much you might know about what's going on in terms of mental health and statistics, but the numbers are quite high, the need is high, the demand is there, 100%. So in the fields right now, we have shortages, so we do not have enough healthcare mental health workers to meet the need of those people who are looking for services and support. So it's absolutely critical. And in the Intro to Community Mental Health course, we really talk about how mental health is everyone's concern. So I need to be concerned about my community members in terms of how their mental health are doing, because that's part of my community. So I think it's just so important to be able to give back in that way and to understand what the community has going on and to provide that. Right now, we don't have enough people doing that work. And then there's ramifications of that. So when we don't have enough workers, and that means some people are slipping through the cracks or not getting the appropriate care. And then that changes their long-term trajectory in terms of their life and all that they have going on. So to put more people into the field and people who are trained very well, thanks to NEC and this money, I think that is just going to be absolutely necessary and will help fill some of the shortages that we've been seeing in the field.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Back to you in the studio.
Coming up after the break, we will tell you how New Hampshire is hoping to make concert tickets cheaper.
And have you noticed an increase at the pumps? We'll take a look at gas prices and how they compare to a year ago. We'll be right back.
The U.S. and Israel launched military strikes against Iran nearly 2 weeks ago. Iran's new supreme leader issued his first statement today, saying he wants to close the Strait of Hormuz, which would further impact oil supplies. He also vowed to continue attacks on Iran's Gulf Arab neighbors, and he wants retaliation for all the Iranian deaths. The United Nations Refugee Agency says up to 3.2 million people in Iran have been displaced by the ongoing war. 7 U.S. service members have died. Gas prices are going to continue to rise in New Hampshire and nationwide. According to AAA, the current national average is $3.60. Here in Merrimack County, the average gas price is $3.42. A week ago, gas prices nationwide averaged $3.25. 1 year ago, gas was about 50 cents cheaper, averaging $3 a gallon.
New Hampshire is one of several states that is still pursuing a lawsuit against Live Nation and Ticketmaster, accusing the companies of having a monopoly and driving up prices for consumers. The Justice Department announced earlier this week that they reached a tentative settlement in the case, but New Hampshire's Attorney General says he's continuing the fight alongside other states to protect consumers. The NCAA Men's March Madness is on the horizon. Selection Sunday is just 2 days away and will decide the seeding and first-round matchups for the tournament. The tournament will include all 31 conference champions and 37 at-large bids, which are decided through a selection committee. March Madness will kick off on the 17th. The World Baseball Classic kicked off last week. This tournament happens once every 3 years, and it consists of 20 national teams competing around the world. The 4 teams with the best odds going into the tournament were Team USA, Team Dominican Republic, and Team Japan, and Team Puerto Rico. The semifinals are not yet set, but they will be placed on Sunday, March 15th, and the championship game will be on March 17th. Coming up after the break, 2 Grims have climbed, or shall I say wrestled, their way to the championship. Hear more after the break.
And want to hear what NEC future entrepreneurs plan to pitch at the upcoming annual Shark Tank event? Just after the break, we will tell you when and where you can catch the action. Two NEC sophomore wrestlers have had very impressive seasons.
Women's wrestler Jacqueline Denny booked her trip to the NCAA National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championships after winning the Region 1 championship. Denny went 1-2 at the championships, her only 2 losses on the season. She finished her season with a record of 16-2.
Male wrestler Joseph Bolduc punched his ticket to the NCAA championships after winning regionals. He secured a takedown with 3 seconds left in overtime, taking the lead for the final. Bolduc went 3-0 at the regionals and will compete for the NCAA championship on March 13th in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
You may not expect to see sharks in Henniker, but there will soon be fins in the water.
That's because the annual Shark Tank competition is coming back at the end of the semester.
Contestants will pitch a business idea in a live 5-minute presentation to judges and hope to win cash prizes. Any student is welcome to participate.
First place receives $500, second place takes home $250, and third place wins $100. To sign up, use the QR code on the posters around campus. The competition will be held on April 21st from 2:30 to 4 p.m. in Lyons.
The annual Grims Awards are just around the corner. Students, staff, and faculty are encouraged to recognize the commitment and dedication of NEC student leaders by nominating an individual or student organization for a leadership award. Some student awards include the Unsung Hero Award, the Emerging Leader Award, and the Community Diversity Award. Submissions are due on Tuesday, March 24th. To nominate, follow the form sent by OSE via email. The Grimm's Awards are Tuesday, April 7th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. in the Simon Great Room.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at NEC.TV for the latest NEC news.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you right back here next week for All Things NEC from the only Henniker on Earth.